student who finally finds a major in Latin American studies and ethnic studies, right? But one of the things that I want to make sure to tell students is I think what helped me to balance that practicality was becoming part of the McNair, the Ronald E. McNair Post Baccalaureate program, right? So even doing like the honors program, because one of the things is look for Mellon, look for honors, look for McNair. Hopefully the current state that we're in right now, these trio federally funded programs are what helped to create a pipeline for students from marginalized backgrounds to be able to have the opportunity to work with faculty, right? Where you can connect that passion. And I think it was through that guidance, right? Not only through the wonderful academic counselors, but go and talk to those professors and say, hey, I would like to do, or don't ever say, hey, but say, professor, such and such last name, I would be interested in doing an independent study. I'm really wanting to look at this. So that way you could actually say, or I'm a community practitioner. I would love to write about this. This gives you firsthand experience to start researching your own culture. That's some of the things that I love with the classes that I get to teach is about why our community practices, language, dance, music, writing, are so important. And what better yet to be able to come from a community practitioner itself, right? Because these stories are just as important. Did you want me to go to the other questions or to kind of just keep to one?
Yeah, if you could do just the second one, and then for the third question about the advice, I'll come back to that in a little bit.
Okay, great. And then for thinking about the second question, and trying to be respectful of time, is how can students connect with their performing arts major to other fields and careers? It's doable. It's possible. I would say, had I known what I know now, like 20 some years later, I would have done the anthropology right then and there, right? I would have done anthropology because the fact that, I mean, this is where I'm at now. I didn't know I was going to be a professor, first of all, right? That wasn't in the cards for me. No one in my family was a professor, coming from a father who was an immigrant working in the fields. My mother, they were herding sheep and migrant agricultural pickers, so it's, thinking about those kind of things of like, what does this mean for me? So yeah, once I got into anthropology and talking to faculty about what I was looking at, why I love dance, they're like, you're an anthropologist, you're a cultural anthropologist, or you love music and you understand music so well. So there are fields, but one of the things that I will say when we're thinking about practically and working with communities, especially in the Los Angeles and North Carolina area, and I know we talked about business, but think about for sustainability, right? Who has to help to who is the one that's helping to sustain a group? Those parents, as I call parent power, right? When we think about those communities and you have that passion, somebody needs to know how to run the books. Someone needs how to know how to do all of that background things. So having a background in marketing, business, right, depending on what your group is, but needing to know how to do the funding, getting a nonprofit, all of these things are really important. But I would even say that you could use the performing arts with public policy. We see how arts therapy, public policy right now, arts is so important. So for me, I definitely advocate how you could think about public policy, right? Where we want to make sure we're supporting the arts, that there is funding nationally and state level and locally for the arts. Thinking about also education, but also just even on a macro, micro level is how do you sustain that practice, your passion on this level, even if it is a student group. Being, a faculty advisor for the Folklorico group here, we talk about money. We talk about how are we sustaining, how are we maintaining all of the traditional attires, the trajes. So those are things that we have to talk about, and it does take some sort of organization in that. So I'll just stop there.
Beautiful, Xochitl. Oh my gosh, you guys have so really good advice. I need to hear this too. I'm taking notes, okay? No, but you said something so fascinating. You talked about a lot of the experience, Xochitl, And that, so you can take classes in business. You don't have to have the minor listed on there. It's okay to take some of those classes, or taking ethnomusicology or taking anthropology courses. You don't have to have or declare that curriculum. If I was you, if I could go back in time, I'll do a little bit of everything. Let me take classes in education. Let me take classes in anthropology, because that's going to help me understand more. But I don't necessarily need that whole curriculum. So I love that, Sochi. Thank you so much for sharing that. All
And
right, we're going to shift gears
Jen,
to
can
our
I just
next
add
set
something
of,
really
yes,
quickly? I used to be an advisor in my other institution, and I used to tell my students, if that's the case, you can't take that minor, you can't take the full. It's a concentration in. So if you've taken 2 or 3 courses in something, it's a concentration. It's that way. It's not it's not going to be, it's not going to say minor, but you did take 2 to 3 courses, so it is a concentration. So I always sort of love to share.
I love that. And you put it on your resume. You get to put it on your resume, and you get to speak about it when you do interviews. You talk about it, okay? There's no rules to that. You say this is part of your life, right? So, same question to Jonathan Ritter, Chair and Associate Professor of Music.
Thanks, Jen. I'm going to double down on a bunch of what everyone you've just been hearing say, but I think it's worth doubling down on. There aren't any crystal balls. You can't pick a major right now that's going to lead you to a fabulously successful and lucrative career and know what that is today. 10 years ago, lots of people would have said privately to, oh, well, you need to go into to computer science. And today, computer science is cratering because of AI, and entry-level jobs are disappearing, and people who majored in that are all kinds of trouble. And I don't say that to, if any of you have that as your double major, no diss there. But my point is, 10 years ago, that looked like a economy-proof kind of career that you could choose. And right now, it's a really tough place. So there aren't crystal balls. If you're making your decision based on what you think is going to be foolproof, it's not going to be foolproof. You've just heard from a bunch of people on this call, and I'll add my own voice to it. My undergraduate degree is in American Indian Studies. I was working in a museum as a curator at the point I got offered a job, and now I'm chair of a music department. My path was not a linear one to this point. Just like everybody else you just heard from. I mean, my colleague, the amazing Dr. Sochi, has a cultural anthropologist and a tenured professor in the music department. Like, there are a lot of ways you can get to this. And actually, I'll share a little bit of my wife's experience. So I'm working in a museum at the point I interview for this job. My wife's entire career in Los Angeles for almost 30 years now has been in, let's say, the public arts realm, in publication houses, in museums. She now runs a big foundation in the nonprofit world. Her undergrad degree is in English and French literature. Like, none of it pointed to that. But because of her career, she's constantly having to hire people into the very thing that almost everyone on this call is doing. I mean, every day, I'm hearing about her hanging out with politicians who are funding the arts and wanting arts advisors, working with museums, working with cultural institutions, working with theaters, working with art historians, working with dancers and musicians for all kinds of events, and the ways they're working with other kind of artists. What are the things that she's looking for when she's doing all this hiring? If you're really thinking about that in this kind of necessary career kind of way, I mean, we all have to pay the bills at the end of the day and put food on the table. That's real. But what's she looking for, and what are all these institutions and potential jobs you might be looking for? It's not necessarily what major you had in college. Did you pursue a passion? Were you good at it? Yeah, that's important. But are you a critical thinker? Do you have a deep knowledge and wide knowledge of the world? Are you a good communicator? Can you write? Can you create art? Can you put together a social media campaign? Can you do that kind of creative and intellectual and critical work? Can you work with other people? Are you good at being a leader, at leading teams? Do you have a deep and broad knowledge of the world? So when the new challenge comes along because of a political event, because of a cultural event, because of whatever is happening in the world, can you sort of come into then jump into that conversation and have something to contribute to it? That's, not necessarily because you have a theater degree or a music degree or a dance degree. It's because you've learned all of those things. So, I mean, there's a part of me, it's not being a very good music chair. I'm supposed to direct you to my department and say, you all need a music degree, right? But you need to feed your passion. Absolutely. The thing that's going to keep you going, that's going to keep you in class, that's going to develop all those big, broad, wide skills. But be thinking in that broad way. Again, my undergraduate degree is in American Indian Studies. I'm working in a museum curating exhibits, and suddenly now I'm the chair of a music department and playing weird folk instruments, and that feeds my soul. Feed your soul, but feed your intellect, feed your curiosity about the world, seek out those opportunities, and whether you're dancing in the Ballet Folklorico, or you are acting in a play, or you are dancing in a hip hop production, or whatever it is you're doing, at that point you go out in the world, that combination of passion and creativity, but with you're at a UC school, the kind of deep things that you're going to get. And I love that people are bringing up, there's a very understandable desire to, I mean, I was an American Indian Studies major again, y'all. I mean, and I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere in South Dakota. So you can imagine that every, generation above me was going, this was the big smart kid we sent off to college, and now he's getting a degree in this thing. What the heck is he going to do with that? Like, he was supposed to go to business school or be a lawyer or a doctor. But I took enough of those things. Again, you don't have to get a major or a minor. Do it if you can. Absolutely. I'm not speaking out against it. Um, but yeah, as several other people have been saying, take the marketing class if that interests you, along with the artistic thing that you want to pursue. Um, we've actually had a lot, and I'll end here because I know lots of other people have other things to contribute, but at the graduate student level, we've had students go on and do amazing things. In all kinds of really different, extraordinary fields. They have founded their own businesses without ever taking a business class. One is working for FEMA, like in emergency recovery, post disaster, as someone with a PhD in ethnomusicology. One of our composers founded a company and signed a multi-million-dollar contract with the NBA to build things for the hard of hearing to be able to experience sports games in the way that other people do. We have people doing all kinds of unbelievably strange, interesting things that none of them are the thing you would think about as somebody with a degree in music necessarily, but music was the pathway in. So absorb all of it, use all of it, but don't feel like you have to have figured out at the age of 19 or 22 or 35 or whatever you are, working on especially an undergraduate degree, that you're going to be able to pick the thing that's going to be able to have you say, oh, I'm going to be a performing art, whatever, and I'm going to be financially successful. Your major choice may not be the thing that determines that. Your passion, your critical understanding of the world, everything that you have to contribute, you're going to be able to frame that, by working with all the amazing people that we have here. I'll stop there.
Fact. Oh my gosh, you nailed that. So you basically described a bachelor's degree, right? But you didn't specify what major. You're learning critical thinking, you're learning how to do research. Everything else, like if you do a job, if you land a job, they're going to train you. I promise you, you're going to be fine. But you want to make sure that your bachelor's is like it's going to be everything. Okay. So what I'm hearing is work on your resume. That's what I'm hearing. Okay. Work on your resume. Your resume speaks volume. It sometimes even speaks more than your bachelor's degree. I hate to say that because we're all educators and we're all about yes, 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 college, college. But the facts are, if you have a strong resume and you have a beautiful bachelor's to back that up, you're going to be just fine. I promise. And then building connections, right? Look at all these amazing people that are here today. Make connections. We're going to share context, but make connections. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop talking. Susan Straight, next up, Distinguished Professor of Creative Writing. Please take it away.
I'm so glad that you're doing this, Jen. This is a really great idea. I have to say, neither of my parents graduated from high school. So I'm the only professor, as Jen knows, who's from Riverside. My mom was an immigrant. She wasn't a citizen until I was 4. My dad grew up on a ranch, and then his father abandoned him in Ontario, so he didn't get to graduate from Chaffey High. So I grew up with parents who didn't know anything about college. Actually, they were kind of like, why would you do that? So the funny thing is, my mom learned to speak English from listening to Vin Scully do Dodger broadcasts. So I went to John W. North High School here in Riverside, right down the street. I was born here. My mom was determined to give me a typewriter for graduation, a little blue Smith Corona typewriter. And I was supposed to go be a sports writer so my mom could meet Vin Scully. That was the entire reason that she thought I should go to college. She thought I would be able to be a secretary if I learned to type. She had that little understanding of what school was. I was actually helped when I got to USC. I had a full ride to USC. I was helped actually by my advisors. I knew nothing. And I majored in English and journalism. I did the journalism major. I was a sports writer for the USC Daily Trojan. Second female sports writer. The first one was also from Riverside, so that was a thing. I think North High prepared me to do everything because we came up loving everyone and having to stick together and be loyal. And that actually helped me at USC. My English major, on the other hand, I wrote a short story when I was a junior, and suddenly I heard, oh, you should go be a fiction writer. My mom was so pissed because she wanted me to have a steady job. That was her deal. And she finally went back to community college, Riverside City College, and got her AA, and she worked at a bank. She wanted me to work as a secretary or work at a bank. When I told her I was going to go to graduate school for fiction writing, she was absolutely furious. She didn't even speak to me for a year. Also, I got married. So I was married in graduate school, and I went to Massachusetts where it snowed, and I got to study with James Baldwin, and that was life-changing. The reason I'm telling you this is because our parents, especially if, again, like my mom didn't graduate from high school, they're really nervous about us majoring in the arts, aren't they? And I think I hear this is my 35th year at UCR, my 35th year teaching creative writing. I founded the department, co-founded the MFA, and I just spoke to 300 honor students as well as 70 emerging success students at UCR. I always say the same thing to you guys, which is there's half of us, like what do we want? But a lot of us are raised by people who have a great investment in us. And that's the balance I wanted to talk about, Jen, is like there's the passion that we have, and then there's the passion our parents have, which is to see us succeed. So that double major thing I will be specific about. For my students in creative writing, they might be liberal studies majors because a lot of my students want to be teachers. In 35 years, I have turned out countless teachers, high school, elementary school, community college, as well as professors. Alex Espinosa, who's the Tomas Rivera Endowed Chair, he was my undergrad. Michael Jaime, professor of creative writing, he was my undergrad. All right, that makes me very proud that they're professors at UCR. And they both also came up with parents who didn't really, trust the system yet. So the two things I want to say is, you do have that thing inside you. If you want to sing, if you want to write, what I can say about creative writing is everybody has to write. If you want to be a lawyer, you're still going to have to write a narrative. And I say this to all the honor students. If you want to be in business, you're going to have to write that marketing report. And my son-in-law, who's from Nigeria and works for YouTube, he's always like, oh, I hated having to learn to write, but you have to write. Like, this is why your app is going to succeed. All right. If you are in the sciences, you're going to do grant writing. So what I can say for my creative writing majors is they love the double major is great, but for a minor, it really teaches them how to write a narrative. How do I write this narrative to tell my patient? Because I have a lot of pre-med students. How am I going to tell my patient who is a Mexican immigrant who was afraid to go to the doctor and who now has cancer? How am I going to tell her in Spanish how she's going to survive? This is the most important narrative of all. And that's the narrative that you learn in creative writing. So I love the idea that you can minor, like Jen is and Joseph are saying. The creative writing minor is really great. I have a lot of liberal studies, pre-med. I have a lot of guys from engineering who are like working on a robotic arm, but they're mining on creative writing because the second and last part is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Like, I'm going to write fiction. I'm going to write a memoir essay. Some of my students write the most beautiful memoir essays about what it means to want to be a doctor because they want to help somebody like their mom who passed away of cancer because she spoke Spanish and there was no interpreter and she was afraid to go to the doctor. So even as a creative writing minor, you might do a great job on writing your medical school application, and you might write an essay. You might also write an essay for the LA Times. So I have students who do all of those things together. I think the practicality part of it, I already kind of addressed. I always had 3 jobs. All right. I flew in this morning from New York. I've been on book tour for 8 days. But if Jen asked me to do something, I'm going to do it. All right. So I haven't even eaten yet. Well, I had a banh mi in the airport, but I haven't eaten anything else. It's important for me to tell you all, I have 3 kids. My mom is 91. She has dementia, but she still remembers sending me off to school on the bus. It was a huge moment for her. And for my kids, they all double majored. They did. And none of them is doing what you thought. I'll just end with this. My youngest daughter is 30. She went to USC full ride. She majored in classics and film studies, and she works on the TV show Below Deck. So I don't even know what to say about it. She makes good money working in reality TV, but also she's a young Black woman, and she makes sure that there are always, always, always young Black women on the cast and on the crew. So that's a big deal to me. All right. Thanks, Jen.
Susan, I want to be a creative writing major. I want to do it right now. Let's go. Let's do this. You just made me like just rethink everything, because you're right. There's power to what you are doing. So if the double major doesn't work out, it's okay. If it does, cool, superb. Let's do it, right? But it's okay to just do one single major and still do whatever you want. But it's okay to learn. Okay, so beautiful. I love it. I love every detail. All right. Our last faculty, y'all hang in there with us. These are really great conversations. Jose Luis Reynoso, Associate Professor and Advisor of Dance. Please take it away, Jose Luis.
Yeah, gracias, Jen and Joseph and everybody else. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. I know that we are just beyond the time that we had allotted for this, so I'm just going to take my few minutes real quick to share some thoughts. I think most students who are here, assuming that they already have the light in themselves because they're here. I just want to share a little bit about my own trajectory real quick, so that just to remind you, whenever it gets hard and tough, and whenever you doubt yourself, it can be done. It can be done. It's hardly easy all the time. So I came to the United States when I was probably a little older than a lot of you undergrads here, and I came as a Mexican immigrant. You see them on TV, right? So then I started working in different kinds of jobs, and then I ended up going by accident to study in an ESL program in a barrio in East LA at nights. So I was working during the day in construction, and I was going to ESL program at nights. And then, long story short, I finished that program, and then I did high school for adults at night. And then I went to a community college in East Los Angeles. It took me 4 years because I was working, right? So I was paying out of pocket. I just got 1 year, I got a Pell Grant, and everything else I paid out of pocket working in construction for my 4 years at community college. Then I transferred to Cal State LA, and I completed my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I started my master's in psychology. And everything I was paying out of pocket working in construction, and I was doing at the same time taking a lot of dance classes. So I almost have a second bachelor's degree in dance, except for 3 theater classes that I couldn't take. So I was doing all of that work. And then when I finished my master's degree in psychology, I didn't want to save the world being a clinical psychologist anymore. And then I decided to become a dancer. So I went for a second master's degree, a master's of fine arts at UCLA, and dance and choreography. And long story short, I finished my master's in psychology. I finished my master's in dance. And then I liked theory so much, and I continued to my doctoral degree, right? So I completed my PhD in the Department of World Arts and Cultures at UCLA. And then I got a postdoctoral fellowship in dance studies at Northwestern University. So it can be done. I mean, I just told you this like in 1 minute, but it just takes a lot of work and a lot of focus. So I'm just going to jump to maybe some redundancy, some repetition of what the other my colleagues have already expressed. And maybe some of these are common sense, but I just want to go through my list of things that I just noted based on the questions real quick here. So time management and prioritizing, right? So what is the most important things that I need to get done, including self-care practices, right? Because sometimes we forget about that. So just keep that in mind and check in with your advisors as needed. Be in communication with professors and TAs. Visit their office hours. And you don't need to be the most brilliant, the most verbally articulate person, or that your ideas, they don't have to be fully formed yet. Just be genuine when you go to discuss your ideas, because we know when you just want to just because sometimes people use these strategies, some students, just to get the professor to know them, and it's easy to spot that. Nothing wrong with that, but it's better if you genuinely just go and brainstorm with your TA or your professor, and they're going to appreciate that. You will need letters of recommendations or references in the future, so establish relationships or with these people, so because you're gonna need them. You're gonna need to use their names in the future, whether you go to the field for looking for jobs or you go to graduate school. That's gonna help a lot. Collaborate with your peers. You know, just I'm speaking from the dance perspective, right? So it's just collaborate with your peers. Make dances, make paintings, make theater pieces, and be in people's work and invite other people to your work and do that. And yes, I think I wish I could tell you that to focus on your creative practice all the time, but living in the illogic of neoliberalism, we need to become entrepreneurs, right? To make it happen for yourself. So that's kind of like part of reality. So learn as much as possible about the different aspects of the production of whatever it is that you do. If it's dance, if it's theater, so just learn that. Grant writing, you know, there's a class. I think Sochi once in a while teaches teaches courses on grant writings, right? So just go and take them because you're gonna need that in the future. And if you don't need to do this in the future for yourself, at least you have a good understanding of what needs to get done so that you can get people to do it for yourself, but you'll be better prepared to make it happen for yourself. And then also, yeah, so I like to think of choreography as a problem-solving mechanism, right? So yeah, that's what we think. So it's not just about the soul and not just about beauty, but it's about solving problems. It's about looking for the strategies on how to represent something, on how to deconstruct something and make it abstract. So you always have problems to solve choreographically, right? So it's another way of actually cultivating critical thinking that involves other sensibilities, right? That are in the body, not just in your brain. I mean, your brain body is the same, right? So the brain is a muscle. Someone used to say that. So yes. So that just think about choreography and dance as another way of solving problems. And then also try to make as much work as possible and as much exploration as possible, right? So-called failures are really, really good. So I even facilitating a graduate seminar right now, and I want my students to write about, you know, whatever they think the research is at this point, and maybe and then I'm just saying my philosophy is just find out if the direction that you're going is worth pursuing, or you're gonna readapt or modify. So just find out by doing. And then yeah, so read as much as you can about what you do. Read as much as you can, and then also watch as much as you can about it. You know, I'm often very surprised that a lot of dance students don't go see dance. I don't understand that. And they call themselves dancers, right? And that's, yeah, because they dance. I remember being at UCLA, a lot of undergrads used to say, I just want to dance. I just want to dance, meaning they didn't want to think critically about what dance means in the world, right? So they just want to move and they just want to, you know, be sexy. A lot of students want to be sexy, right? So dancing. So there's much more to it. So just yeah, so go watch dance and theater and read novels, read books and whatever it is, you know, build sculptures with clay or whatever it is. So
Yes.
just practice. And then also, yeah, so expose yourself to people, network, talk to people. Don't paralyze if you go to conferences, if you go to exhibitions, if you go to dance shows, if you go to theater plays. Just talk to the artist, talk to the choreographer, talk to the director, present yourself. You never know when they're going to remember your name or when you're going to need to say, oh, remember, I made you a display, I made you this exhibition. And then just network and learn from people. If it's possible, learn from the best that you can. And again, the thing of building a resume that includes your so-called failures that include whatever you do while you are an undergrad student, all of it, just put it in your resume because that's going to help you a lot.
Fact.
Again, whether you look for jobs or whether you go for graduate school, and keep the curiosity alive. I
Yeah.
think something that made the difference for me when I was in community college, just recently from going from ESL and for high school for adults, I just remember, never forget the first time I heard a talk about cultural anthropology. And I wasn't sure what it was. And I went, it was amazing. But I didn't become an anthropologist, but then I went to see something from another department and I went to something department. It's just curiosity. Just keep it alive and go, go, go and learn and learn and learn and learn. Yes.
Thank Jose Luis, beautiful. Thank you. I mean, from Jose Luis's story, I mean, they're all beautiful and super powerful, but Jose Luis' story has a different pathway, right? So we all have different pathways. Even if the one we're planning so hard, it doesn't work out, there's other pathways, right? Jose Luis came from a different country to a community college, then to Cal State LA. You kept going, Jose Luis, no matter what came your way, whatever barrier you were like, I'm gonna move this barrier and I'm gonna prove y'all wrong. So amazing feedback. Thank you for sharing your story. Beautiful. All right, y'all. We're a little behind here. So much stuff to talk about. But really quickly, just in one word to my faculty, just one word advice that you could just unmute yourself and in the same order, we could just go back here. Starting with Daphne, just one word of advice, just one, and that's it. We want to hear our student panels. Thank you for my student panels that are just waiting, but go ahead, take it away, Daphne.
I would say pursue it.
Bam. Next, Robin.
I'd say explore.
Whew, I love it. Sochi.
Of course, I'm going to say it in Spanish. No sufres en silencio. Don't suffer in silence.
Period. Facts. Jonathan.
Communicate.
Oh, communicate. Yes. Susan.
Storytelling.
Oh, I love that. And then last but not least, Jose Luis. Last word.
Try as you can.
Hey, yes, thank you. That was your faculty. Thank you all so much. Faculty, if you want to stick around, please and empower our student panel. Please, for my student panel, don't forget to put this on your resume, okay? And I got y'all on a letter of rec. All about community. What? Yes. All right. So I'm going to let Joseph take over.
All right. Yes, thank you so much to the faculty. I feel like I learned a lot, so it's always good to hear from you guys. But now we get to the tea, right? What the students think, what the students are saying. So we got some questions here for our lovely student panel. I'll just quickly introduce them. We have Giovanni Quiros, who's a double major in creative writing and TFDP. Alina Rudy, who's a double major in TFDP and language and literature comp lit with a minor in philosophy. Doesn't that just sound so cool? Rochelle Wickramasinghe, who's a double major in creative writing and liberal studies. And then we have George Providence, who's a double major with creative writing and English. Jolie Vasquez, who's a double major with creative writing and Spanish. I love it. Kieran Sim, who is a triple major with creative writing, psychology, education, society, and human development. Incredible, so important right now. And Diego Martinez, who's on a different track with TFDP and pre-med. So very interesting trajectory there. So now we're going to run through here to some questions, and I'm going to try to have this more of like a round table. And then if I need to, I'll jump in and start pushing it along a little bit further. But because most of us here are double majors and also the pre-med track, I think everybody probably has some really good contributions. So the first question that I want to throw out to the table, which is probably the most important, how do you manage your time balancing the coursework between both and even all three disciplines? Like I said, I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump in. Are you guys ready? I'm gonna start with Kieran. I'm so excited to hear what Kieran has to say.
Hello. Um, so how do I manage my time and coursework throughout my disciplines? I am a bit of a time management nut. I'm a productivity nut. I love it so much. I keep track of my time in a Google Sheet that I have, and I keep track of it every 15 minutes. So I keep track of like my sleep patterns and how much sleep I'm getting, or how long my like morning routine or night routine takes, how long my showers take, which I know sounds like kind of crazy and wild, and it is, to be honest with you. But I personally enjoy it, and so that's how I keep track of my time.
Incredible. Yeah, because like as we know, there's so much more that goes into being a student than just the coursework. It's also like the faculty were saying, self-care, making sure that you are specifically making time for you to stay healthy. Now I want to bounce over to our pre-med student, which I think is an interesting perspective. Diego, how do you juggle all of your time? Is Diego here?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Hello.
Hello.
I feel that it comes to juggling time. I typically feel like I almost, because how different some of the med classes can be compared to the TFDB classes. I feel like I almost dedicate certain days to making sure I get like caught up and get ahead on different kind of like classes per se. Like I kind of try to separate it because I feel like the thinking is very different there.
Yeah, it really is. I think that's such an interesting combo, but again, like the faculty were saying, so important. We don't know how those creative fields bleed into the more, science-based ones. I think it's good to have a humanities education when you go on that side. But now we can jump over to our double majors. Anybody from Alina, Rochelle, George, Jolie, how do we balance our time with the double major?
I would say I use mostly like a Google Calendar, a lot of to-do lists, but I think I'm lucky with my majors and minor that so much of the disciplines cross over that it just becomes like one flow of learning and one flow of coursework that it's not so difficult because it's like about the same topics and stuff.
I'm gonna jump in, and I also agree. For me, I think I'm very fortunate with like TFDP and creative writing. They go very hand in hand, and a lot of the classes actually were like compatible together. So when it comes to time management, I also put everything on my Google Calendar. Every week I'm updating it, and I think every hour I'm doing something. It's not like I cannot just sit still and like, you know, unless it's the weekend, that's when I rest. But like the whole week, I'm just working away, and everything is very creative work. It's just like a lot of projects you have to think in mind. So I think for me personally, it's not difficult. It's just a lot of work.
I need to get a Google Calendar, is what I'm hearing. I am not up to the same level. I need to be better. Okay, George, Rochelle.
You know, um, I'm fundamentally lazy. I really hate to work hard, and and the only way that I really stay on point is by making certain that I lock everything down into a calendar. So I don't do a Google Calendar, but I use Outlook, use my to-do list, and I really follow the advice of a grad student that I was leading one of the classes I had during the summer, and that is to really, really look ahead and to think about the work that's coming and do my best to get ahead. That way, creative writing is a lot of writing. Um, the English I've discovered is a lot of reading and a lot of writing. And so, um, you really just have to be organized and be motivated. And that's what usually keeps me in good stead. Not all the time, but usually.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, George. I'm so much more of an Outlook person than Google, so maybe that's where I haven't jumped on board with the Google Calendar yet. Okay, Jolie.
So for me personally, I am still old school. I still have an agenda on paper. that's the only way I could actually focus. Usually that helps me just know what my dates are like looking back because it has like I could flip back to like the week or the month. So I either put like all my events on the monthly and just look back at it every time. And then like for my weekly, sometimes I usually also do my to-do list and just jot down like what's the important first. And then just go from there and just looking back at my class, like what days are my classes, like what's coming before, and just making sure that I have a head or like what's more important. Like for one class, I it's on Wednesdays, but I do the classwork on like on Friday because that's like the most tedious one. And then there's other class that I have on Tuesday, but that one it takes longer, especially because the assignments are due like half an hour before the class actually starts. So that's how I have to like manage like what's more important, not like what day my classes are, but like what's more important. So that's how I have to manage between my coursework and everything else. And also since I'm a commuter, that also applies to me because I commute from the San Fernando Valley. So that's 3 hours. So coming back and forth, like 6 hours of my day are gone. So I have to like include also like, am I gonna rest or not? And like I have to like see what actually is important, or if I'm gonna like, hey, you know what? I can't actually do this today. Like I have to like focus on me first because it's not like I'm not gonna be able to put and push through to all my effort. So that's how I'm able to balance everything.
Hey, yeah, that's my next question about commuting and working because I myself was telling my students today that I was also a commuter student and I also work part-time. I had to pay my bills, so that's something that I'm very familiar with. You guys make me so proud because you know what? I did not even have Google Calendar back then, and I'm so ashamed to admit that. But let's see. Um, Maybe Rochelle can kick us off. Or you guys can jump in, remember. But do you guys work or commute? I know Jolie said that she commutes or that they commute.
Yeah, so for me, I live, luckily, like this year, I actually live on campus, luckily this year. So, for me, I actually work as an editor for one of the school's like magazines. So like I think just like handling that like is very interesting because like I don't really have a break because like because we would have our daily like meetings on Saturday and like just like building like the magazine for like the school, just coming up with like topics, but like luckily like they're very lenient since like they know that like we're all in midterm seasons and like hey, we're gonna take a break from it, but like keep in mind but of like ideas, but I am still like I'm kind of a workaholic, so I'm still
Hmm.
looking for another job to like balance on top because like Giovanni was saying, like I don't like standing still and not doing anything. So like I'm constantly always wanting to do more. Like I think currently I'm kind of working on my like second poetry collection.
I will cut in. Rochelle is a published author, y'all. So at such a
Mm,
young age, Rochelle is a published author. So shout out to Rochelle.
yeah, incredible. I hope that Google Calendar goes crazy, right? Hopefully. Um, okay, what about anybody else? Do you guys also work or commute?
So I'm a student lead. I work in the hub, the dining service, and a lot of my free time actually, if it's not class, I'm at work. Um, and I would say the I'm a workaholic too, so I enjoy it. I can't pretend like I hate it. No, I love my job and I just love always working. And if I almost feel like most of my days are like social interactions with a lot of people and just maintaining a lot of the connections that I have with people. And I think that's like what's like kept me sane throughout this like process of double majoring and like it's just meeting people and getting new ideas and feeling inspired by the people you meet and being influenced by like your day to day, especially when you're so busy. But yeah, I do work and I live off campus, so I don't commute like 6 hours like Joelle was saying, but yeah.
So I live off campus. I don't have Jolly's commute, but I've got a 5 hour commute. So uh it bites into, you know, bites into time. It's, 15 hours that are gone every week. So I really have to, I guess comes back to the whole time management thing of really just trying to be on point there, making certain that I stay on top of work because um, time is at a premium. And so I do my best. I've not been successful at it as much as I'd like to, but I'd like to be down on campus just twice a week as opposed to 3 times, just to limit the travel. So 5 hours it is, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
That was me when I was commuting to USC, so I totally know. Yeah, that commute is like a part-time job in and of itself. So that's something that when I meet with students, I try to get that information from them just so I can get on the same page. I know that struggle. But I'm hearing like an overarching theme of community, which is so important. That's one of my favorite things about UCR is everybody kind of holds each other down. So for anybody thinking about a double major, just be mindful of that, that's a really important piece, making sure that you have a support network for yourself to help you get through it. Um, okay, another sort of like popcorn question. Has anybody in the group connected with the Career Center yet? Not to put anybody on the spot. If it's crickets, that's okay. But has anybody connected?
I've had an orientation and I'm on the email list, so I get all of the notices. I haven't really found anything of interest as of yet, but I mean, I think Career Center is great. Gives you an idea to think through, um, just what you need to do to get yourself properly prepared once you graduate from school. So, it's something that I think I've got another year and a half, because of the double major. And I suspect that it's a place that I'm going to take a lot of time talking to folks just to get myself groomed up for the next step.
I have like gone to the career center. Like sadly, I feel like I have gone 2 times, like my first year, and I feel like my no, probably went 3 times, but like it was like I want to say like it was like a mixed experience. Like it was like a good experience just because I was figuring out like what I wanted to do as my career since I am graduating in June. So like I was like I remember like Jen, I was telling Jen like, oh, I want to do pre-med. I want to do that. When I first came to college, I was like, oh, I'm going to do the pre-med route. And then as soon as I started taking my courses for creative writing, I was like, I don't want to do pre-med. I want to do something else. So I talked to the career center about like pre-med and they're like, um, you might want to declare a minor. And I was like, I don't want to do that for like, pre-med because I felt like that wasn't my kind of thing. I was like, I don't want to do this. Then I talked to them about law and society like late in my sophomore year, and they were like, "That's a switch. What happened?" I was like, "I don't know. I think it's interesting. I want to declare it as a minor." And I was telling Jen like, "Oh, I want to do," it. And she's like, "Why don't you just take the course first?" And it's all about like talking to your advisors because like thank you, Jen. She was like, just take the course. And I took the course. I was like, oh, I like it, but not as a minor. So then I feel like just getting connected with like your advisors and even the career center was like saying like, are you sure? Like, do you want to go and check something else out? And then I was telling Jen like, oh, like I don't know. And then she completely connected me to someone in the master's program about liberal studies. And I was like, hey, what the heck? Like, let me go and ask about it. And that's when they told me like, hey, why don't you double major in it? And that's when I was like, you can avoid an exam. And us being students, if you can avoid an exam, you can't. So I was like, okay, why not? And it's like all about try and error with the career center because sometimes they'll give you stuff that are useful. Sometimes it feels intimidating, but they will give really good advice. But I feel like for me, it's more about like connecting to your advisor and just trying it out because your advisors don't know, like they're not you. So just like trying that out was like one of the best things I done. And just telling Jen, hey, I'm gonna double major now. I know it's late, but I'm gonna do it now. So yeah.
Very good insight so far. I love hearing what you guys see about the Career Center. I mean, that's because then what am I going to tell the other students, right? But yeah, I think that's so important that the communication piece, like, I usually tell students, like, nobody can really give you your decision for you. Like, only you know yourself better than anybody. So you kind of have to take the collective advice that you're getting from the community and find out what that means to you and how that pertains to your goals. But very, very good. Okay. Popcorning over to our last question, probably the biggest one, but this one if I have time, I kind of want to go through like in the order that we introduced ourselves in, but let's see if we maybe can go back. Yeah, there we go. Okay, starting with Giovanni, and then I'm going to work my way through. But what advice would you give to your peers about considering the same path?
I want the first thing that comes to my mind is doing it because you want to, because this takes a lot of work. Now, whether the difficulty it's going to be on your personal level, but I want to say like all this work you're doing, do it because it's something that you really want to do and that you see yourself like pursuing and because no one's gonna be able to convince you but yourself at the end of the day. Um, and yeah, that's really all I want to say advise.
Very good. Okay, Alina?
I think the piece of advice that I would give is just to be dedicated. I feel like the things that I'm doing, I'm very passionate about, but passion isn't something that's just gonna like drive you to do all that hard work. So with like dedication, commitment, I think you can really like discipline yourself to make it all work. Also, just have like a vision for like your future and what you want to do, and understand that the hard work that you're doing now will only just benefit more in the future. I also think just like communicating and also like we've been saying, community is so big. Like, I'm so grateful for like the advisors that I've talked to because they've been so open with allowing me to like ask different questions and like making sure things work for me and how I want my education to go. So, yeah, just do the hard work and like just learn something. I think that's why we're all here. And so we just have to make sure that we're not just trying to get a degree to have a degree on our resume, but we really want to learn something and like come out of college just like better people and understand more. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, Rochelle?
Honestly, like it's like what I was like saying like previously. I think just a matter of just trying. Like it's like that saying that I remember my theater teacher told me in high school, try to fail. So like, like basically just like, like it's all about trial and error. So like if you don't end up liking it, then like okay, then now you know like who you are because like I know a lot of people were like I think like my family was concerned about me because like I take a lot of units just because I am double majoring and it's like what was said like it's a lot of commitment. You had to know that like, your free time might lessen. So I think one of the biggest advice I would give is like if you really enjoy it, don't listen to anyone else that says like, oh, you can't do it. But I feel like if you can motivate yourself to do it because for me, it's a lot just double majoring, and I was even thinking of minoring in something just because it's fun, just like learning. So, like, if you enjoy just like, learning more things, like, it's like what the faculty had like said, like, I was like, I felt more inspired, like, doing like minoring in something else. So, I think it's just like, I think if you could, I don't know how to put it into words, but just like honestly, like, if you feel like you're like willing to put that time and effort, because to be honest, if you're like kind of lazy and be like, oh, I could just do my work later, I could do it tomorrow. No, like when you're double majoring or triple majoring or minoring, you had to know that like, hey, I'm not gonna have that much free time, but I need to manage my time accordingly. So yeah.
Yes, very good. I love that you called out the truth, which is, yeah, it's not like a lazy person sport. It does require a lot of commitment, which hopefully comes from the passion. So very nice. Okay, George. Oh,
George,
George, I
you're on
think you're
mute.
muted.
All right, you hear me now? Okay, great. Sorry. Um, for me, it's pretty straightforward. I think something that Dr. Reynosa said was very inspiring for me, and that is, and really kind of gets at why I'm pushing at a double major, and it's to really feed my soul and to feed my intellect. It's something that I really, really wanted to do long ago when I first entered school. Um, I won't scare you with how long ago that was, but when I first went to school, I thought I was going to be a professional football player. And because I was going to be a football player, uh, I really didn't think about the thing that I really wanted to do academically. Academically, I wanted to be a writer and I wanted to major in philosophy. But I didn't think I could do it. Didn't know anybody that looked like me that made money as a creative writer that studied philosophy, so I didn't pursue it. Now, probably almost 40 years later, I decided that I would pursue the thing that I really wanted to do, the thing that really excites me. And that's really because um, I am lazy. I don't want to work hard, but I really want to write. I enjoy creating stories. And what I've come to really appreciate in the English major is the acquisition of knowledge, and that really feeds me and gets me motivated, and just helps me when the laziness wants to kick in to overcome it because I really am hungry for the knowledge. So I think it's having that passion, the desire to just feed yourself, and maybe last but not least, just being focused, staying on it. Yeah, because you're not going to be in school forever. You want to make certain that while you're here, you're doing that thing that you really, really want to do.
Period. I just want to quickly brag. I think I'm so happy that I work with performing arts students. I'm sorry, I could not be over there with the business students. I think you guys are so real, and I feel like we're the most human department, so I feel very lucky for that. But Jawali, I apologize. I think I've been saying your name incorrectly this whole time.
Oh, you're
Jawali.
okay. Uh, for me, my advice would be just follow what you love learning because I got into writing because it was during COVID and it got me passionate because I wanted to represent people from my community and I also wanted to include bilingualism in my stories, like Spanish and English, because I feel like a lot of times when I would read stories, it was just in English, and I never thought it was possible to write both in English and Spanish. So that's what I want to come across with my readers in the future. Like, hey, you could do English and Spanish. And with my Spanish discipline, I really just I wanted to continue that learning that I had for in high school with literature. That's my concentration literature. That's what I wanted to do. And so even though like I'm just working on my Spanish with literature, my outcome with both of my disciplines is just give back to my community in whichever way I can. Like I want to go into medical interpretation. Previously, I wanted to do court interpretation, but I thought that wasn't for me. So I want to do medical interpretation because part of it is with my grandma too, how I would help her in her appointments and everything. And that's just really got me pumped up to like, hey, I want to give up to the community, even like give it I don't know what outcome's gonna have. Like professors have said here, you could do like your discipline, but you never know what your outcome is gonna be. And I don't really know what my outcome will be. Like maybe I'll change my mind again, I'll be something else, but I just am following what I really love to learn. Because if it weren't for that, I would just be following something that I wouldn't even love to do. I would just be doing it like in regards to money or getting something out of it. But with these disciplines, I am getting something out of it for my love, while at the same time making sure that I'm gonna be giving back something to my community which have helped me like this whole time throughout my like lifetime.
I I love it. Everything. Yeah, community, community, community. So important. Kieran, the triple major.
Um, my advice is kind of two things. It would be to be greedy and to have an audacity. Um, because like I took a 25 unit quarter, and I think anyone in their right mind would sit and be like, "Oh my God, that's a lot," right? But like, can we be real? Minoring, double majoring, triple majoring, it's like it's all a lot. And I think that a lot of people tend to limit themselves because of other people. They're like, I think I'll do this. I think I'll like, I'll push myself down. But I think more people need to have a bit more audacity about themselves, I reckon. And so I would love to see more of that. And that's my advice.
Feel like you guys are talking to me, right? Personally, I need to have more audacity.
Joseph, right? I was like, dang,
Right?
is Kieran really talking to me right now?
You guys need to come advise us, right? When you guys aren't in class. But no, I love that. Okay, Diego, the pre-med student.
I'd say a big thing is just make sure that like the two things just make sure that you really do enjoy what you're trying to do because it will drain you. And but at the same time, be willing to fully try it because I I feel like that helped me a lot when it come to trying to become pre-vet on top of doing the film was having to fully experience that field to know I wanted to take this on because it's gonna be a lot. I mean, this quarter's been hard. It's been working like 25 hours on top of having a high unit quarter, and I've never had to deal with that before, but I enjoy it because I enjoy both fields, and I feel that that is what will keep you going as long as you enjoy what you're doing. So, but I do feel that it's an important decision, so you should really try stuff to make sure that you're willing to do it because I feel that through hands-on experience, you'll figure out what works best for you.
And shout out to Diego because Diego has been working so hard trying to get into CNAS classes, which is something that nobody really talks about because we're all in Chaz, right? But taking classes from different colleges can sometimes be a barrier for no reason, right? So shout out to you, Diego, for being a fighter and like, no, I need to get into this class because I'm on the pre-med route. So shout out to you, Diego, for fighting for your being proactive for you. So yes.
Yes, I think that is all the questions that we have written down. I just want to say really quickly, my favorite thing is hearing from both the faculty and the students. It makes us better advisors. So thank you so much for sharing your testimonies and everything about yourselves. Very helpful.
It was amazing. I'm like crying. I'm trying not to cry, y'all. I'm such a big baby. But please, let's take some questions. We have like few minutes left. Please, some Q&A to anybody that's still here on the panel for student questions, whatever you guys want to say. Like, nah, it was good, Jen. There's no questions. Oh, we already have one. Galia, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
It's Galila. Yes, I have.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So I understand that passion plays a factor. Like you should be passionate in what you're pursuing, like whether it's a minor or a double major. But what are other wrong reasons why someone shouldn't pursue a double major or a minor, especially if they're not sure whether or not it will support their future career?
That was a good question. So you're saying what is a reason not to do the double major? Correct?
Like, what are all the wrong reasons? Like, I can give my own example. So right now I'm a pre-business major, but I am considering either TFDP, so theater, film, and digital production, or media and cultural studies as either a minor or a major.
Anybody want to take it? What are some wrong, right? Like what are some like no? Go ahead, Diego.
I'd say I almost follow this path. I almost added a minor on top of what I'm doing, and I'd say that trying to just beef up the resume sometimes can not be the best thing, especially if it's going to take back from the core things that are actually contributing towards you, like getting to where you need to be, because there does have to be a certain set of priorities there. So I feel that you have to, in order to add to name, it does have to contribute to your overall goal, and you have to really think about that rather than just thinking about, oh, it looks a little better. It makes my resume look a little better.
Maybe a faculty. Sorry, George. Well, I'll come back to you. Any faculty that want to speak on that, that's still here, that say what's a wrong reason to not pursue the double major or maybe another minor?
I'll jump in as a faculty member. I don't speak out against double majors. I know there's a 216 unit cap, and there are very real and practical reasons maybe not to do it. And, by all means, keep those in mind. My experience, I mean, as I was talking about before, watching sort of who gets hired and thinking about myself. I mean, when we go to hire faculty, when we're looking, here at this university, hire staff, I don't want to think about how many search committees I've been on for how many different kinds of staff and lecture and teachers and administrators and everything. And what jumps off the page is that passion, is that diversity of interests, and maybe it'll take you a little longer. That's a financial commitment, and that's something that you'll have to think about. That said, it does communicate something when I'm looking at a resume or I'm on a search committee or something and like, oh, this person was pre-med in philosophy. This was a dance major who also has a degree in, entomology and insects. Like, that's really interesting. Who is this person? What led them to that kind of path? So, I would say, what's a wrong reason? Yeah, if it's going to take you years, if you're going to have to fight with Jen about 216 units, um, if you're going to bankrupt yourself and go tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt over that, those are very real things, and I think you do need to keep those in mind. But if this is something you want to pursue, this is the thing that feeds your soul and your future interests, and you're already imagining a way that you can do it, then don't shortchange yourself by saying, "Oh, well, I should really just try to get done and get out as quickly as I can." Because I hear who was just saying. Someone was it Diego? Someone was just saying, don't just pad your resume. Well, don't just pad your resume. But your resume is something somebody's going to look at. And if your resume screams, here is somebody with broad interests and they were deep and they were passionate and they dug deep and that, they did something that communicates something. So I would say advice not to do it, be practical. Yes, on some level. Advice to do it, follow those passions all the way, invest in yourself, and then help the rest of the world see how you've done that.
Oh, fire. But nail that. George, go ahead, George, really quickly. And I know because we got like a couple more questions.
It'll be real quick because I think everybody said what I was going to say. I really think that it's about following your passion. So, I wouldn't, I had a professor one time or an advisor who talked about the utilitarian pursuit of of school, of education, going after something just because of where you think it's going to get you, and the failures in that thinking. And I just think that if it's something that you want to do and you feel passionate about, that's what gets you geeked up. That's why you go ahead and pursue it. Padding the resume, doing it because it's going to make you look nice. I personally feel is a failed strategy. But I think if it's something that you're just hungry for, you just can't imagine yourself not pursuing it, then you got to go ahead and get at it.
Facts. There's only one of you, and that's what makes you different. So, period. Sophia, that was a great question. Sophia, go ahead. What's your question?
Hi. I don't know if the faculty for creative writing is still here, sorry, the professor, but mine was a more writing aligned question. So it was, does any of you have strategies you might be able to share, like on how to enter the writing industry or even just network with people who are publishers or editors, whatever?
Oh, any of my creative writing majors that could take that? Or Kieran, you want to take that?
Yeah, I would love to. Hi, Sophia. Um, a suggestion that I have is to use UCRs like in its maximum capacity. Um, there are a lot of creative writing events that happen, and there is like a newsletter as well, I believe, that sends out different events. I think getting on that, I think going to those events, speaking to the authors and other writers in your graduating year, I think will be pivotal. And I would say take a large breadth of classes or more. Okay, well, this is more personal advice, but I would recommend taking more creative writing classes than maybe is required. And the reason why I say that is because then you'll be given more opportunities to connect with the faculty, to talk one-on-one with them, especially in like the workshop classes that you'll be having. It's much more personal with like a 15-person class. And the more classes you take, and maybe the more classes that you take with the similar person, the more you'll connect, and I think that will help.
Yeah,
Can I just
Susan had.
piggyback on that? Just
No, go
piggyback on
ahead,
that real
George.
quick. I'm in the creative writing department, and one of the things that I really, really appreciate is how accessible the professors are. And I think I really count it as a privilege being able to sit in the room and, utilize those office hours to really talk to the professor and just let them know where your heart is, what you're trying to do. And they're very, very giving. I mean, I participated in a class this summer, and one of the professors there said they would help me. Uh, they knew some people in the industry. They would take one of my stories and put it in front of some people. Um, you can't get that not being in class. If you're in the class and you're talking to the folks, they're going to invest in you because you're investing in yourself. So that's what I would say. Just take classes.
Beautiful. But I love every second of this. Thank you all so much. Special shout out to all my faculty, to all the students. Special shout out to Joseph, who I dragged into this. I was like, Joseph, I'm getting a lot of double majors and minors, and everybody wants to do it. And every appointment, that's all I'm doing is calculating units to make sure they're eligible. And so, Joseph, thank you for supporting me and making this a coming to reality. And special shout out to all my student panelists. I know that you guys are busy, right? Triple, double majors, minors. Like I'm over here asking you guys for another dang thing. So thank you all so much. Special thanks to Susie and Melanie, and Tony was here too. So shout out to him. But I hope everyone stays safe. Thank you. If you have any additional questions, you can email me at jennifer.garrison@ucr.edu and I'll send it to faculty. It will be recorded. More to come on ethnographic and like visuals for you guys to help you out, calculate your stuff. Okay. But have a beautiful evening. Stay dry. Enjoy the rain and see you guys soon. Bye, y'all.
See y'all later.
Bye.
And I was in the dining hall the whole time.
You said what? I'm so sorry.
I was in the dining hall the whole time.
Oh, hey, that's all good. See, I love that. But I hope you have a great one, Alex. Take care.
You too.
Bye.